Hey everyone, welcome to this student success interview. I'm Garth Laidlaw with PortPrep, and I help art students complete their portfolios to get into their top art schools across the globe. PortPrep can help you create the absolute best art portfolio that you can possibly make and have the best chance of getting into your favorite art schools. We have courses on figure drawing, character design, perspective, animation, storyboarding. We even have courses that deal specifically with Sheridan College's animation portfolio, which is notoriously difficult to get into and which is what I graduated from. One of the primary problems that we've noticed with students not getting into their top art colleges is the accountability to produce work on a consistent basis. And this is exactly what we've created these courses for. When you sign up for one of PortPrep's courses, we draw directly on top of our students' work to make corrections and also record all of our online meetups and video lectures to send to the students so that you can have it forever. PortPrep is incredibly proud of our success rate with getting students into their top art colleges and universities, and so please have a look at our testimonials page. We also offer one-on-one art mentorships as well that are much more customized to your specific artistic goals. Without further ado, let's listen to this student interview.
I got in.
Yeah. What was your initial, like, how did you find out? Paint the picture.
Oh my God. I was at work. I was in the middle of a shift. It's a chill workplace. So,
yeah.
But I didn't even know if I wanted to open it because I didn't know if it was bad news. I didn't want to ruin the shift.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I wasn't gonna wait, and I had a feeling I wasn't last year when I submitted. After I submitted it, you kind of take off the rose-tinted glasses of hope, and you're just like, well.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't think I'm gonna get in last year. And this year, I didn't really have that moment where I wasn't like super scared. I really thought I did well enough.
Yeah, you eased into the finish line like gradually. You weren't like scrambling at the end, right? You were more relaxed.
Yeah, I had a couple days to make sure everything was done.
Yeah.
I had time to organize all that stuff. I still barely made it though, 2%. That's still not a huge margin. The cutoff was crazy.
Yeah, it was. But as we're going to see in your portfolio, I have some things that if I could, I would submit as disputes for the portfolio reviewers. But we're gonna get to that. But
well, let's see it.
So I bet your parents are psyched and everything.
Yeah,
I'm excited.
It's great. It's a lot of pressure off because I've taken a gap year the last 2 years to just go to Sheridan, and then this year,
2 years. Okay.
Yeah, this is my third time applying. So
yeah,
if I didn't get in this time, it was really gonna be a conversation. I told them I applied to other schools.
Yeah.
And I didn't apply to other schools, so I was really hoping.
All of your eggs in the Sheridan basket.
Yeah, that's every year I put them in, and third time's really hoping it worked out this time, so that's good.
Awesome.
So yeah, they're relieved. It's great.
That's so great.
Yeah.
So how we're gonna do this is I'm gonna go through this, and we'll look at your score sheet. We're gonna look at all your pieces. We're gonna talk about all of them, and if there's anything you want to say about individual pieces, go for it. But otherwise, I am curious. I sent you some questions in advance, like I always do.
Let me just open it up again.
And so just your top 3 tips for future students that you can kind of think of. And again, these can be specific to pieces or just like overall things. So let's see. I will. We'll go through it kind of piece by piece. I'll start with the. Actually, let's look at your score first. So, wow, look at that. Hardly any points off. Just basically that character rotation, which that is my dispute. So we'll see that soon. But these are great observational marks. Like those are the. I don't know about how you were feeling, but I feel like for me that would be the scariest area. Maybe that in the storyboard, but the observational stuff in particular is like, because you just, I don't know, it's hard to know because it seems like it's hard to gauge how they even mark. So well, anyways, anything you'd like to add about any of these pieces?
The observational stuff, I think it is the hardest to know what you're gonna get. But I also think there's a broad range of people who just get 8s and 9s, and you could be like great and deserve like an 11, and you'll still get a 9 or 8 sometimes. I feel sometimes you should get like a 6 and you get an 8 and 9. So I just spent a lot of time doing them and just I figured I'd get an 8 or a 9, and I was trying to get full marks in places where it's easier to know what they want.
Sure.
Like the more technical stuff. Well, I guess it's super technical, but like the layouts and character rotation, I feel like it's easier to know what they're specifically looking for. Whereas with the
Sure.
gestures,
Okay.
you're just at the stage you're at, and you pick your best ones and hope that. And yeah, usually like last year I got a 7. So,
Okay.
but yeah, I feel like most people fall
These are
between
great.
7 and 9.
Yeah. These are really awesome. I'm really glad that they like these because I really like these. I remember seeing these in the big page of all of your drawings, and it's really nice to see that it paid off and that
Yeah.
at least with your portfolio, it was fairly. I mean, I had a pretty confident idea that you would do well in this section, so that's good.
Sweet.
Yeah. Let's look at that character rotation. Where is it? So, yeah, I have no idea why this is a 12 out of 15 for anyone watching. We've been through this a whole bunch of times, and I think this is a fantastic character. I think it's super fun, lots of personality, great story. Yeah, so I can't figure this out. This is a weird. Tell me, what do you think, Tieran?
I don't know. I think the character's fun. I think there's some parts like maybe they don't like the proportions of it. I think that it could be exaggerated a bit more, but I do feel odd about it because last year my character was a lot stiffer and I got a 14, and I look at it now and I'm like, oh, that's a bad character, and it got a good score. So I thought this was like a response to that, and I thought I did better,
Yeah,
but um
yeah.
no, I'm not too sure.
It's very, very odd.
Yeah.
This shoulder, to me, the stature feels a little bit upper body heavier in your back three-quarter view.
Hmm.
It feels a little narrower in the front three-quarter, just in the arms. Like he feels a little bit beefier from the back three-quarter. But that is the
Yeah.
only thing that, and I've looked at this
Yeah, it is
character a
wider.
lot of times, and I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. I think Sheridan made a mistake. I will say it on record in this video that Sheridan made a mistake. This is a great character. It's also fun to
Yeah.
anthropomorphize your character, right? Like to have an animal
Hmm.
that is kind of like exaggerating a certain personality, and I like that you did that here.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure. I feel like a 13, a 12 seems like there's like something significant that they saw that I was missing, and it
Yeah,
seems to be more than one thing because like I don't know, it's a pretty significant drop.
yeah.
So I'm unsure. Maybe is there any chance it's like the through lines of like seeing the whole form? And I know sometimes they have underlying
Oh yeah,
lines
the
and stuff like that.
construction. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen some get perfect marks without structure, and I've seen some get not perfect marks with structure. So, or with sorry, with the
Mm,
construction lines. So
yeah.
I don't know. That's why I think remember when we talked and you were like, oh, I don't think I'm going to do it. And I was like, sure. Like I've
Hmm.
seen again, you have enough kind of overlapping lines and structural elements that make me think that you wouldn't really need the structure, the underlying
Mm,
construction lines. But I don't know. I mean, at least that you got in. But wow, this would have
yeah.
been such a
Yeah, I'll
killer if
take
that
what I
was the
get.
reason, because this is
Oh yeah. If I was like international, then that 2 points would have been
yeah,
make it or break
totally,
it.
definitely. All right, first layout. This is so great. Such a fun cartoon environment. And it's nice that it has your character and it's a mechanic shop. It's not just like a bedroom or something. I don't know. I really like that. You must have got perfect on those perspective. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, great. Well, that's good at least. At least they were looking at the correct piece here. Yeah, really great. I remember here we early on we were kind of considering whether or not this was like too many man-made objects, but
Mm,
I think we both kind of agreed that it would probably be fine because the mash of different objects almost makes it into more of an organic form. It's not really as much
yeah.
not like a building that's very structural. Even your building that you do
Mhm.
have is very wonky and kind of has a lean to it. So yeah,
Yeah. Mixing a lot of like organic shapes into the like the square shapes of the cars and stuff like that. You
yeah.
actually told me to do that to add like little areas of patches of grass and stuff like that, and
Mm,
just give it a look of like overgrown, mossy, and just
yeah.
yeah, very organic.
Great.
elements with those.
Yeah. Awesome. Look at your animation. Oh yeah. This is just, I thought this was such a fun one because you had such a strong personality in that juice box. Like there are few that I feel like there's this much happening where he's like the amount that you're saying with this is great. Like it's running away from this big thing and it's like huffing and puffing and then does this last ditch effort to escape. How did you
Yeah, I
think of
tried.
this, Tieran?
Um, I don't know. I started with just wanting to have the juice box close up on like the rule of thirds, so I just brought it into the scene, and I didn't really know
Sure.
what to do with it, but I know you gotta play with the proportions of the character,
Yeah.
and I just figured I'd just start by I thumbnailed it and blocked out the timing, and I figured I know they don't really care what they do. Some
Mhm.
people set up whole scenes and stuff like that, but
Yeah.
they don't seem to like they give points to people who have basic character animation or some whole scenes. So I just
Sure.
played around with it and just wanted to move the form around, and that was what I came up with.
Sure.
Uh, Surprisingly, actually, last year I just did it was like a thumb drive just jumping across a gap,
Mhm.
and that actually got full points, and it was a lot simpler. It just was a
Okay.
jump, literally one jump.
Yeah, I remember
Uh,
that.
th yeah, this one I tried to incorporate more story into it,
Yeah.
and it still got 14, but I think this
Oh.
animation
Hmm.
was a bit less polished than the previous one. Last year I did just a simple movement, but I really polished it on like
Mhm.
24 frames, and there was no like missing lines, every line connected. And
Sure.
I
Huh.
think part of the maybe they scored it well for part of the polish it had, but I'm not
Yeah.
sure. Some that
So
don't
you
have that
didn't
much
want to
polish.
resubmit that short animation from last year, eh?
Well, just because it was a thumb drive, and
Oh, of
this one had
course.
that. Yeah,
Just copy the same timing, but do a new
yeah,
object?
I totally could have
No.
actually, but I
Yeah,
wanted to just play around a little bit and be
sure.
creative with it.
So 19 out of 20 on this storyboard. That's
Yeah,
a pretty fantastic mark.
yeah,
95%.
that's great.
Wow. This was a great one. Like, so just for everyone watching, the theme this year was better safe than sorry. And so I really like this one right off the bat because we see in the first, it's set up really nicely. Like, I think you set it up great, having him show up with just like no gear. Everyone else is full decked out, ready to go on like a big hike. And it seems fine enough now because everyone can experience that, right? Like, we've all been there where we're like, we look outside and we're like, oh, great, it's not too bad. But you see on the weather that it's like going to drop in temperature drastically. And then you're like, ah, no, how can it? Like, look how sunny it is right now. And then here we go. He's like having a great time in panel 2, starts to have some doubt in panel 3. And then I think this is a great example of really like bringing it to 11 in terms of intensity. Like, I think, I don't remember what you were originally doing, but I think he was more just like cold, or like it was almost like he ended panel 4 with him being just like quite cold. But I was like,
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I can't remember how we came up with this, but we're like, let's just freeze him entirely, you know? Like I think that's such a fun way to end it. So yeah.
yeah. I think the fourth panel was similar to the third panel, but just like the camera angle was steeper and he just looked more frozen. But this one
Yeah.
was really exaggerated and
Hmm.
the composition was just different. It was more of a
Yeah.
close up.
Yeah.
Um, and I'll talk about this when you ask me the questions after, but this section specifically, I think, since it's so important and it requires the most like most knowledge on storyboarding, animations, shot choices.
Yeah.
This was by far the section that I think students need the most advice from, especially you who's already been
Yeah.
in the program with
Okay. Great. That's
like
good to
for
know.
sure.
So,
Yeah, no, definitely. It takes the most knowledge that I just don't think you
mhm.
have when you're applying, because it's even knowing the works behind animation, not just the visuals, but
Yeah.
like why they choose specific shots, and that's really hard to know until you've already been taught that or
Sure.
someone's seen it.
Okay,
But
that's
yeah.
good to know. So get some feedback on, get some as professional as you can, I guess, feedback on your storyboard and
Yeah.
have regular check-ins. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's good to know, and really glad to know that it was helpful.
Yeah.
Um, okay, great. And then I think there's there's just your personal work, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
I believe
Let's do
so.
that. Um, oh yeah, sketchbook piece up first.
Okay.
That's great. So you just had, I can't remember, Tieran, were you, oh yeah, some of the, so you've already got in, so it doesn't matter. We can say this now,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
these sketches, however traditional they look,
hmm
some of them are done in Procreate, right?
Yeah. There's this artist. He was on Proco, I think. Jen Clayson's is, I think, his Instagram, and he formats his Instagram pieces just like this. He has a blank sketchbook, and I didn't know this for a long time until you like look closer, because
Yeah.
he has a digital brush. He just takes photos of the sketchbook, and then takes photos of his sketches, and then formats them
Hmm.
like this, where you can kind of manipulate, because most people's sketchbook pages are really messy, or like you have one good piece and then the rest are kind
Yeah,
of iffy. So I
sure.
I did this. I didn't know if it would pass, but I chose like the most of these are traditional, but
Yeah.
the animal pieces, they use like a pencil like brush on Procreate and just put it in, and I
Yeah.
don't think they obviously they didn't really care or notice.
Yeah. And let's be honest, like we don't really know if it would have made a difference anyways. Like
hmm
whether it's digital or traditional, these are great animal sketches, so
Yeah,
that's the important thing. Like
it.
good quality is always at the top of the
Mhm.
list. How you get there, I think becoming less and less important every year. Would you
Yeah.
say that's the case?
I think so, and especially because it's personal pieces, they don't specify. I mean, for like the figure drawing and the hand drawing, they specifically say like make it traditional.
Yeah.
And I think it's a bit iffier
Mhm.
manipulating those rules. But this is your personal pieces. I feel like they don't mention any medium. They don't even they really don't care how you do it, it seems.
Yeah.
And part of the score, why I did this, part of the score is presentation. They do mark you on how well you present this stuff. So
Yes.
I figure the cleanliness of organizing these sketches kind of gave me less room for error,
Great.
and
It's
I
nice
got
to
to
see some
showcase my thoughts there.
environments and cars in this too. That's something I don't see too
Mhm.
much. So it's, yeah, that's great. What
Yeah,
were you
I
going to say
thought.
there?
I just think that the showing your diversity and what you can draw is probably useful, just to show that you're not
Yeah.
like limited in just characters or something like that.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, you have a good breadth in here. It's actually really great. These are really nice too.
Thank you.
And also only 8 pages. So, you weren't trying to be like, here's my whole life.
hmm
It's more just like, here's this catered, selected few that I want to show that helps demonstrate my breadth, but otherwise, like,
hmm
not too intense. And same with
Yeah.
all of your other pieces. They were all individual pieces, but then some process work to kind of show how you got there. So
hmm
that's great. It was one of
Yeah.
the first pieces I remember working with you on.
Yeah. It was like the first three sessions. And it turned out great. It turned out a lot better than I would have done on my own.
Cool.
Again, your advice with all the compositional elements of animation and simplifying, I think
Mm,
that's a struggle I really had in the last 2 years, which really affected my layouts too. Like
mm,
just having a better eye for composition and what like animation looks like, and the point of
sure.
you and I had a lot of discussions about the space between the tiger and the characters, and then
Yeah.
what we ended up doing was giving the tiger more space to show that he was more dominant. Where before, you can see in the
Yeah.
first thumbnail, the tiger's way smaller and the characters are a bit bigger, and it's looking
Oh,
like
yeah.
he's not in control. He's not
Yeah.
holding the
He's the
power. But
threatened one.
yeah, and I think that was really really useful.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like I don't know. It's like soft skills that aren't really talked about when you're learning from people who aren't already in the animation field. It's like it's harder to grasp when you're just trying to do your portfolio without
Hmm.
advice from people who already know this stuff.
What do you mean soft skills?
Like composition and the elements of like the space. It's like it's not about drawing, or it's not about indicating form. It's about telling a story through the negative and positive space in your frame. It's like
Hmm.
that's related to the storyboard, that's related to the layout, that's related to this personal piece. And
Yeah.
that probably affected a lot more of my mark than my rendering.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
a lot of people focus on rendering, but not that, like the elements of storytelling. That's primarily like what drives animation. It's
Sure.
not your drawing skill. Well, it is your drawing skill, but it's also your pacing and your your space and all that stuff that's hard to get an intuition for until someone tells you. Like, I didn't even notice these things until you pointed it out, and then it became a lot clearer.
Oh, great. That's great to hear. Awesome. These guys are great. I can't remember, did you have these last year too, or was this done
No, I did have these last year. These were
one of the
only piece I included from last year.
Okay.
Just because I thought it was a different style, and it's kind of cohesive.
Yeah, definitely. Well, National Geographic study, right?
Yeah, National Geographic. It's just only done one of them, but I figured it just shows it's a different style and it's an environment that
and
I'll include.
I think it's great that again, like, you're not trying to show like tons of work. Like, it's better to maybe just show one image if it's good and let that sit, because the more you include, the more room there is for them to kind of dig into the one more than others, and they only have 15 marks. So don't give them any opportunity to take marks off is something that I always say.
Yeah, we were talking about that. Like, it's like a game of not losing marks rather than
trying to gain as many marks as you can. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, if you pick like your 5 best, then they will have less to take away than like your 7, but then 2 of them are iffy, and then they'll see. You'd rather show them your ceiling rather than your floor, you know?
Yeah. Oh, that's a good way to put it. Nice. Wow. This layout, I remember originally you're going to do this as a multi-page thing, but then just out of kind of caution, I think I mentioned maybe just throw it all on one page, because I think they only allow a PDF for the sketchbook. So, and it still works so well. Like, that, there's nothing really lost. Like, some of the sketches are slightly smaller, but we still get a really good sense of the overall environment.
And they get to see it all at once and zoom into what they want to see, instead of like, they don't care for the first 3 slides, but the 4th slide would have been something to give me a mark, then they would have missed that.
Exactly. Great. Wow. Well, fantastic work. I just want to have one more look at your marks. So, perfect on personal work, layout, almost storyboard, this ridiculous mark that they clearly looked at the wrong character for. And wow. Really great, Tieran. So, so your overall top 3 tips, do you have those?
Yeah, I have a couple. I have definitely number 1 would be, and everyone says this, but I didn't follow it for a long time. Our portfolio sessions made me follow it a lot more. Just do observational drawing all the time, especially figures and especially hands. Because you just don't have, I think, like, I've applied twice, and you think you can just get that intuition in the last like couple months when it's time to do them, but you don't. It's a fluidity that you only get when you've done it so many times that you stop making the mistakes you used to. Like, it's about not thinking about the basic stuff anymore and being able to see the body as a whole. You don't get that unless you're just drawing the body all the time. And the hands too. Like, they're just complicated, and you can tell, and obviously professors can tell, when there's an ease of motion with the people who've drawn it a lot, and the people who haven't drawn a lot are just more rigid with the lines and stuff like that. And so just, that's definitely number 1. Don't neglect that. And it does affect your marks a lot. And it'll just make you a better artist throughout. If you can draw people in any form, you'll become that's, I feel like, one of the best things to do just as an artist. Secondly, and I already talked on this a little bit, but definitely when you're getting advice for stuff like the storyboard, definitely get advice from people who, I know there's a lot of communities to discuss work and stuff like that, but I think the most credible people to take advice from are the people who have been in the program already or are in the field. Like, they're actually credible. Obviously, if you have the means to do so, PortPrep and Garth, huge help. I'm sure I would not have gotten in, fortunately, for the 3rd time if I did not have your advice and mentorship, because there's just stuff you don't know, and when you discuss with other students that are also trying to get in or just got in, there's stuff they don't know either. It's like a lot of people are kind of just choosing, like, they're using their intuition, but their intuition isn't the same as people who've already been in the industry. So definitely take their advice. And what was my 3rd tip about? 3rd tip, definitely reference for these layouts. I think I did a lot better this year, because I was constantly referencing actual animation. What we're making here is like an animation portfolio.
Yeah.
And I didn't, like, it's so obvious after the fact, but if you're making an animation portfolio, look at what animation looks like on TV. Make your version of what you see on TV, and look at all the layouts you see from shows you like, Steven Universe, Amazing World, Gumball, all replicate it and use the same type of spacing and the same rules they use in animation. Because I see, like, last year my layout had a really muddled composition where I wasn't really saying anything because I was just putting elements in certain places without knowing why. And if you just pay more attention to all like the Pixar movies, every layout was like specifically made with intention in mind. So it'll make your portfolio a lot better. Because I think Sheridan, it's like you don't have to get to a certain level of skill. You have to get the look they're looking for. I think they're looking for a certain type of look, and it's like the animation look. So just use the reference I compiled, and there is one on the Sheridan Hopefuls Discord. Everybody's work is on a spreadsheet, and you can just look at all the 100s, gather all the things, and find the consistencies in what they do. And that means you don't have to do the legwork of making like 7 different layouts that you can't tell if they're good or not. Just look at theirs and see what they do, and then just make it easier for yourself.
That's fantastic. Yeah. And was there anything that you felt gave you an edge in your portfolio?
Definitely getting a mentor. Like, obviously that's the easy answer.
Yeah.
But that's clearly number one. I think that's what got me in. But
wow.
taking it, watching, but just watch every, before I even worked with you, I watched every single one of the 100s and all the preps beforehand. Just just look at what they want from you rather than like making something from your own head, what you think is a good layout, what you think is a good character. Just look at what they want and just make that. And I really think the only part that you have to really build your skill up to is the figure drawings, but the rest of them don't require all that much like knowledge that takes years to get. I think, like, I failed twice before this, and I think it was really because I was approaching the whole portfolio wrong. I was kind of lying to myself, thinking I could get in without actually looking at what they wanted and just making what people want. And you just approach it with that mentality of just kind of not copying, but seeing what they make and just replicating it in that form.
Absolutely.
Simplify the whole portfolio.
So I think that kind of answers the next question too, of what would you emphasize the most for next year students and parents to take from your success? Just like, I guess that's kind of all the things that you've been saying, but is there anything else that you can think of for especially for parents? Like, how can a parent prepare their son or daughter as best they can for this?
I think, again, I already said this, a mentor is great. I got a mentor because my mom was like, dude, I'm tired of you not getting in, get a mentor this year. And I thought I was just getting a mentor because I'm like, well, I might as well get, I don't know why there's this pride to not get a teacher to help me. But it's just way, way better. And in hindsight, I thought I would get in anyway this year because third time, but I definitely would not have. The cutoff gets higher every year, so take as much help as you can get. Learn as much as you can. It'll cut your work in, like, I don't know how much, but it will definitely save you a lot of time. And just draw all the time, I guess. But not draw all the time, draw figures all the time, and then the rest I think will just come with it. But I think parents could really understand that they need to get a tutor. I think most, I don't know, with the general like art community, it feels like parents don't, I don't know, there's this general thing with like artists where they don't think it's like learned or something like that, where they don't, like, parents don't think art is something to
study in a rigorous sort of way.
Like there's a study that there's a formula to getting better where you just take them to a mentor, honestly. Take them to classes. Actually, I think a mentor is better than classes because classes will teach you like stuff that you're not always going to need specifically for animation. But if you get like, I'm lucky I got the private sessions with you where specifically what I was weak at you could see, and you know
Yeah.
what I need to get towards, and that really helped. That was everything.
Yeah. And I
So
remember like you were very thorough too with like you would bring this character week by week, even though you're like, I'm pretty sure this is done, but like let's just do one more check
mhm.
over. And I'm like, absolutely happy to do that. That's what I'm here for. And every now and then, even though I'd previously looked at it and I was like, that's all that I can see, we'd find stuff later. And I'd be like, wait,
Yeah,
that foot is a different size than that other. So,
yeah,
there's always stuff like that. So I also appreciate
hmm
how thorough you were in bringing everything back and being like,
hmm
let's just check this one more time. It's like, great. That's what I want to see.
yeah, and that's partly obviously. There's a lot of tips like start early. Start
Yeah.
early. It's way better to just have like months and months to
Mhm.
just get to the best version of your portfolio,
Yeah.
because you have all year. Like,
Yeah.
um,
Absolutely.
so might as well start early.
Hmm. You did these figure drawings pretty small, didn't you? They're like,
I do those pretty small.
yeah.
And they're about maybe the size of my hand.
Okay.
Um,
Cool.
but yeah, the pencil marks probably aren't great. I think I cleaned up the ones I submitted. These are on my desktop, and I do
Okay.
remember using like
Yeah.
that Photoshop healing brush thing and just
Yeah.
erasing
Sure.
the little intricacies.
Yeah, sure. Why
Um,
not? Presentation is part of the
yeah.
marks. All right.
Yeah.
Funnest question of them all. With unlimited resources at your disposal and a giant team of artists and animators, what would your dream future animation project be like?
That's a really cool question. It actually would be related to like the personal work at the end, that the whole thing with those monkeys and then the character stuff. That
Yeah.
is actually like it's super like it's just an idea at this point, but if
Hmm.
I could make anything, I would want to make like a 10 episode anthology about characters in this world, because I've always
Hmm.
had
Cool.
a love for like you know like how Pulp Fiction is. It's like a
Yeah.
three separate stories about crime and morality and a bunch of
Mm.
fun characters and little stories that make a whole narrative. But
Sure.
uh
Wow, that sounds
that like
great.
that yeah, that type of thing with anthropomorphized characters in this wasteland world
Yeah.
where you get a look at different people's values and
Yeah.
different characters and stuff. And
Oh,
yeah,
that's
like the chimp
great.
character goes through some, yeah, just a lot of cool. This whole thing, I hope it becomes something throughout
Yeah.
university that I get to develop more. And yeah,
Amazing.
that would be really cool.
Wow.
That'd be
Well, Tieran, I can't wait to see the feature film. Or I guess, yeah, the
dope.
10 to 12 episode series.
Yeah, that would be
Let's
really
go
dope.
for that. Awesome.
Yeah.
Any last words, Tieran, about anything? Or I think you said
Thank you
most of
so much, Gareth. Thank you. I'm so glad I could finally go to Sheridan, and it's all because of your help and
Wow,
the work
that's
with
so
PortPrep.
great.
Like in
Awesome.
depth. Yeah, man. Thank
That's
you
great to
so much.
hear.
That's
Well, I can't wait to keep in touch and I can't wait to
yeah.
see you grow throughout the time that you're there. So
Thank you.
awesome
Thank you.
work. Congrats on behalf of Port Prep and myself. And yeah, thanks so much for doing this, Tieran.
Thank you so much. Bye, everybody.
See
Have
ya.
a great
Bye.
rest of your day, Gareth.